this video, I will demonstrate how to install and use the Substance for Blender add-on. You can find the add-on at our Substance for Blender page at this address. Let's start by going into Preferences, clicking Install and locating the Blender Substance add-on. Activating the add-on will enable its preferences. Before using the add-on, it is important to also load the Substance integration tools, which you can either download directly from this dialog or install from your hard drive. The add-on preferences include default tiling size, resolution, normal format, and export image format. You can choose to automatically attach materials to objects, highlight materials for selected objects, and auto-update cycles textures. You can also change the default path for loading SBSARs from the folder for temporal texture exports and the folder for texture exports on save relative to your main Blender file. Then you can select the default Blender shader network that the Substance add-on will create materials with. This can be UV-based, projection-based, or even based on the physical size of the material. Physical size is now a feature on all Substance software, and it means that materials you use are applied to your models at the correct size. There are options for default displacement, mid-level and scale, as well as emissive and ambient occlusion intensity. Then you have all the potential Pbr outputs for a material, which correspond to outputs from Substance Sampler, Designer, and Painter. These come with options for color profile, image format, and bit depth. Remember that most of these options can be changed during using the add-on, and that these options here let you set the default or starting options for the add-on. Finally, you can set the shortcuts for the add-on menu, loading, and applying a material. I will use the add-on to texture this artwork by my colleague Casimir Perez. You can find the Substance panel on the side of each viewport, and it can be toggled on and off, as well as resized. It's time to download a material. Clicking this icon will take you to the Substance 3D Community Assets page. All community assets are free to use, and you can search by category or keyword. Clicking the next icon will take you to the Substance 3D Assets page. There are curated collections, and you can search by category or keyword here too. These assets are professionally made with procedural and capturing techniques. I will download this rotten wood material for my model. Hitting the Load button lets you load one or more SBSAR materials into Blender. You can view all loaded materials in this panel. The shortcut for loading materials is Ctrl + Shift + U. As I left automatic application off in the preferences, hitting the Apply button will apply the selected material to the selected mesh. The applied material can now be seen in the Material section of the mesh. Selecting the Substance node in the shader editor and pressing the Tab key will take you to the map setup inside the node. Here, you can see the map nodes that make up the Substance node, whose outputs are connected to the principal BSDF material node. In the Substance panel, you can change the material preset, the resolution of the material, and the tiling size. The shader setup can also be selected here. This can be based on the UV mapping of the object, on several kinds of projections, or on the material's physical size. The texture outputs can be turned on or off, and the image format and bit depth can be changed here. Remember that the default options can be set up in the add-on preferences. Let me rotate my material in the mapping node by 90 degrees and go through some of the presets. Now let me show you how toggling maps on and off in the Substance panel makes or breaks connections in the shader editor. You can choose to see all current or all available connections. Going over some of the parameters now, I will adjust the main color of my material and the rotan area amount and opacity. The technical parameters of the material are also exposed here, so I will increase its contrast and decrease its saturation. I will now save this set of parameters as a preset so I can access it later. I can now select another object, like for example the mill's roof, and apply to it the same material. But I want to use a variation of the material here, so I will undo this. In the Substance panel, I will click the Duplicate button with my material selected. This will create a copy of the material. I will then apply it to the roof, rotate it 90 degrees in the mapping node, and adjust its color and parameters. I will save this version as a preset too, so I can access it later. I am applying the wall material to a few more parts. I am also adjusting the settings a little more to fine-tune my materials. Before rendering the mill with cycles, I can check my materials by pressing Z and 2 to go to Material Preview. Z and 8 will restore the rendered view. Now, to add displacement to my material in cycles, I must add a height channel to it. This will add a displacement node to the material and connect it to the Substance node's height output. The displacement scale and mid-level can be adjusted in the displacement node and in the material panel. Remember that the defaults for these can be set in the preferences. The maps that the Substance add-on creates are saved in two places: working files in the temporal folder, and upon saving, in a folder relative to the main Blender file. These paths can be changed in the add-on preferences. Before I finish this tutorial, I would like to show you how to uninstall the add-on and install a newer version of it. In the Preferences panel, uninstall the integration tools first, then remove the add-on. To reinstall, install the add-on first, enable, download, and install the integration tools. This concludes this tutorial on installing and using the new Substance add-on for Blender. For more Substance tutorials, you can visit our official tutorials page.